Deze is hartstikke awesome Jeff.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I'm Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. What's up, guys? This is Inside Scoop, and as you can tell, we have another special guest with us, and we are excited to introduce you to him, and that is Matthew Gushia. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Good to see you, and we are excited to tell your story and let you share, why we have you here and all the good stuff. Before we get into that, we want to let everyone remind you guys know that we are sponsored by the Virtual Fight Tour, and they are going to have their big grudge match coming up in January or February. So we're going to have a lot of fun breaking that down, getting everyone ready and prepared for that. Thank you again to Virtual Fight Tour as this year is ending. Again, a lot of cool things they have done for the sport over the past 2 to 3 years. And we actually have a documentary coming out very soon on the Virtual Fight Tour. So going to be really cool. I saw a couple of clips. Jesse sent me some clips today. So pretty exciting.
Dope. Is it really dope?
Yeah, it's cool, man. It's cool. So
man, I'm excited for it.
Yeah. All right. Andrew says, hey, Matthew. Awesome. All right. So let's get into we got the newest number one ranked competitor in the WKF, and let's share a little bit
in the world, not
yes,
just
in the
city,
world.
The world, Craig.
That's right. So explain how that happened, and then we'll get into some more things. So what is the process, and what is your title currently right now?
Right now, I'm number one in the world for the WKF, World Karate Federation Traditional Circuit. So it all started when I was around 7 years old. I was training under Sensei Canel Loveless.
Yes.
And he discovered my talent for traditional kata. And back then I was really into the NBL circuit, going around competing all over the place. And then after a few years, once that was over, I had become part of American Karate national karate team. And I was training under Sensei Jared Liker, and that's how the NASCA circuit kind of got all started for me.
Canel says he's proud of you.
And, Canel was a guest just a couple weeks ago. Did you know
that?
So
this is great. Yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, sir.
Pretty
cool. And when I started NASCA, I was doing mainly traditional weapons, traditional forms, and then I was doing point fighting back then as well.
You kind of did everything, right?
Yeah. And
that's what we all did.
Yeah. And I got my junior black belt 2 years later. And then I got upgraded to the top 10 USA team, also by Sensei Jared Liker. I got my black belt by Shihan Michael Bernardo. You guys might have heard of him.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And I still represent today top 10 Team USA. Every NASCA tournament I go to, I have him on my back and everything. And Sensei Jared Liker, he was the one that started the traditional tournaments for me. He signed me up for my first tournament overseas in Italy, in Venice.
So
for
how
my
did
first
that
WKF
go?
tournament.
We've kind of heard the story a little bit from a lot of other people. Like, you know what? I was a kid, I started martial arts, saw this big tournament. I knew I wanted to do that. And then I kind of got involved in tournaments and then I never left. Your story is a little different.
Yeah.
But you just mentioned something that I'm like, hold on. How did you get to that point? Because you do have a little bit of a unique story to this point that you've told in the sense that all right, I started training under the Canel Loveless, already a great trainer. You're starting off great. And then you found yourself training with Jared Liker and doing traditional kata, probably one of the best ones that you could go train from in the States right now. Jared's probably it. So right now you're doing good. How did you get to where all of a sudden it's like, yeah, now I'm going to Italy, timeout. Where did this come from?
So I heard
How
about
did you
karate
get
being in the
there?
Olympics, right? So
Yeah.
and that kind of wanted me, getting a goal of becoming an Olympian one day. And I knew that I had to switch to like the traditional circuit to
To
start
do
getting
that.
there, practicing, getting to know everybody, all my competitors, people that I'd be going against pretty much every year.
Awesome. Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
So how did that first event go, and what was that like, that change?
So my first tournament in Italy, it was very good, very fun. We had 108 competitors as my first tournament, and
Wait, and you
somehow
won?
I came in fifth.
Yeah.
And
In his
ever
division.
since then, I've been hooked to.
Wow. So fifth out of 108th, you got fifth on your
Yep.
first traditional event. So that means
Yeah.
you had a strong foundation from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
So
Holy
like
crap.
Jared's suggestion to go compete in Italy wasn't just here, let's just go try this out. No, like it was
'Cause I've
he
done
had
that.
he had a vision for you, and now it was like now he had to let you see it, right? That
Yeah.
it was a possibility. And from
Yeah.
there you were like, all right, let's go, right?
Because
Yeah.
like Jeff, well, let's take sidebar. Like you've done that with some students before. Like, man, why don't you just try this thing out?
Yeah.
We don't even know, right? I know I've done that personally, right? To my
Correct.
students and myself. Like, no, let's just give this thing a shot. Like you said, this was not, it's not what we're doing. It's not
Right.
what happened here. Wow, this is pretty cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. So all right, so now and this is as far as clarification, WKF, this is for junior competitors, or is it as far as the ranking?
This is just for my age group, 14, 15. They have
Okay.
different ages. They got 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17,
Awesome.
21.
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
then,
Awesome. And you just came from you had several big events this year, right? Because you had the Pan Ams and the World Championships,
yeah, I
right?
just from Turkey from the World Championships.
Awesome. Awesome. How did how has this year been? So what's been the process of going from, I think I saw earlier in the year you were number 3 and now you moved up to number 1?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So we had nationals back in beginning of July. I got first at nationals. We went over Pan Am's in Mexico, got first there, and then we went over to Turkey last month, end of last month actually, and I made it all the way to the semis. I had a little slip in the in third round. It happens, but
Yeah.
What was your slip?
yeah. In semifinals, I had like a little slip. My hand kind of flew off the mat, and then yeah.
Your
Oh, okay.
hand flew off the
Yeah.
mat?
Like when you're on the ground doing a okay. Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha.
That sounds extremely intricate.
Yeah.
So, what's Turkey like?
Yeah.
Turkey is a very beautiful city. I went to Istanbul, country. Last year, went to Istanbul. Very big, beautiful. And this year we went to Konya. It was a little smaller, everything, but it was still very nice.
Awesome. Awesome. And Andrew was saying that you are actually undefeated in Ontario.
Yeah,
In the
and I have been provincial champion since 2018 every year now. So
that's
yeah.
awesome.
High praise coming from Andrew Caliban.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's so cool. That's so cool. So I first met you on the NBL circuit when you were a little kid,
Right.
and actually you always competed with my son, actually, Sean, and you guys were the same age. And so I was telling him, I was like, dude, I have like Matthew just became number 1, and I have him on the show. So he was all excited about that, and so it was pretty cool. I was and again, seeing what's cool is that you are able to go back and forth from both circuits, right? You know, you won this year at the Battle of Atlanta as well, won
Yeah.
the overall. What is, just the biggest difference as far as for you between the two circuits?
For me, it'd be the way, like the number of katas you'd be doing. For me, traditional forms, right? That's my main event, NASCA, everywhere I go. And NASCA, you can repeat forms, right, for traditional challenge and for the traditional forms division. You can do the same form. Once you go to the WKF, you have to do different forms every single round. So it's a little more complicated. You have to know more katas. You have to be able to adapt to that environment.
All right.
right,
So
yeah.
this much, I think we've had enough traditional kata competitors come on and they've told us that information, which you're right, Matthew, which is very different than what open martial arts circuits would do. What are your katas that you do? Like if you're like, all right, this is the one I'm coming out with first. Do you have one that like you want to do or that you're saving for later rounds? What's your strategy with that?
Usually I go from like my like middle kata, right? I usually take my top 4 for every single tournament, but I don't start off with the too high end of a kata. I usually go first round. My 2 first round katas would be Kurumfa or Anan.
Okay.
And second round, I do probably Anandai, which is my favorite kata to get me to the semifinal. And then from there, it depends all on the competitors, who I have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that's how you make it past that.
Yeah.
If you got another one, what's the kata gonna be?
It'd be, I'm not sure. I have a bunch of katas in my arsenal, so most likely Super Impe.
Okay.
That's been a part of my arsenal for a while, since I've been 10 years old.
Awesome. So now coming from that, say like you go to a WKF style tournament, and then the next week, say you go to a Battle of Atlanta. How does that mindset switch?
For me, I just gotta get back to the sport karate circuit. I know that I can repeat the same kata, but for me, I'd rather train all my katas, get them all to the same level, get them as perfect as I can, whenever I get a chance to.
Yeah. So it's kind of like stay in that zone that you're already in, right? Know it works at the highest level, so why not do the same thing, right? So maybe say like for traditional challenge, you'll do one form, for your division, you'll do another, and then maybe you'll stick with one of those 2 in the runoffs, and then because really you'll if you want to make it all the way to the grands, you're probably going to do 4 forms, right?
4 forms. Yeah.
So it's very similar as far as how many forms, but not the same requirements. And then going, now right now in WKF, are you going head to head, or they have it the bracketed like
they have brackets, groups? There's
the groups. That's what it is. Yeah.
Sign up for the tournament. You can have up to 12 people in a group.
Okay. So it's not as many forms as say in the past, right?
Yeah. No, in the past you can have 6, 7. Now it's maximum would be 4.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, and that's one of the themes that we're going to be talking about the rest of the show too. Is just going out. You know what I mean? Venturing out to doing different things. What was maybe the biggest obstacle for you on trying this new circuit?
First off, you have to get adjusted to knowing all the katas and everything, getting everything highly perfected, right? Getting as best as you can. You got to train harder, much harder. The competition there is way the opponents are just much better.
Yeah.
They do traditional forms as their lifestyle.
Correct. And those other countries, that's what some of them almost want to be as their career, right? They focus on that. Some of those countries, they even sponsor them to do that full time, right?
Yeah.
I'm curious, Matthew, what do you feel like is a strength that you have? What is something that you can be this area, I know that's something I'm going to have as a strength over the rest of my division? I think there was 105 guys, right? And you basically beat 100 of them.
Yeah. I say you gotta walk in there with confidence. You gotta believe in yourself. You have to do your best when you're there. You gotta leave it all out on the mat.
Matthew, that you did not answer what I said. You gave a very PC answer. Tell me, man, what makes you you? what makes your form, like what is something that you have that's better than most guys? And this is okay for you to be like, you know what? Sorry guys, I'm better.
I'd say strength for sure. That'd be
Okay.
Power.
Strength.
Okay.
power, strength. Yeah.
Awesome. That's good. That's good. Yeah, I noticed that as well when you compete. So, all right. As you said before, just focusing on your strength, the difference in the rounds and stuff, and how hard everyone trains. Right, you have to keep up with that. What is some advice to someone who is maybe wants to try a new league or a new discipline?
First, you have to get familiar to all the rules, right? You gotta know the basics of the circuit. You gotta know.
I can't hear you right now, Matthew.
Can you do some research on who you're going up against? See what's going on. Everybody, what patterns they do, let's say, or how old they are. Right?
Matthew, you might be covering the mic.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's something with that phone again.
Yeah. There was
All right.
definitely a feedback for a little while, and a little bit now.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead. Nah.
No, we're still not catching you. There's a little feedback. I don't know if there's another playback that you got going on. But while you kind of figure that out, Jeff, why don't you give us a little bit where you feel some of Matthew's strengths are? Yeah, he's gonna sign off and he's gonna come right back.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know for me, just Matthew's determination and and like you said, his power, but also just I know his work ethic, and also the strong support he has of his parents, and also picking. Just look at the names that he chose to train with, right? So from the beginning,
Are
Cannell,
you getting better?
then he went to Mike Bernardo, and then he's with Jared. So he's with a strong team. Let's see. All right. Well, yeah. So go ahead and try to finish out what we were saying, Matthew.
Just try to know the rules of the circuit, right? Get familiar with all the opponents. Just get the basics down pretty much. And once you get used to it, just keep on training. And make sure you get known, become known there, right? You want to show your presence.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, we'll make sure that we continue to share, everything about you and your accomplishments. So keep it up, buddy. And thank you so much for joining us. And we'll have you. I'm sure we will have you on again soon. All right.
Thank you so much. Good to see
All right,
you.
man. You have a great one.
Happy Thanksgiving, brother.
Yep.
You know what, Jeff? We didn't even say that. Happy Thanksgiving, my friend.
I know. Listen, his was in October, so.
What are you talking about?
He's Canadian.
Okay.
Yeah. I was talking to Robbie today, and it was like, wait a minute, when is y'all's Thanksgiving? Because I was like, well, just if not, Merry Christmas if I don't talk to you again.
That's pretty funny, actually.
Yeah, theirs was October 1st. But yeah, happy Thanksgiving. Dude, awesome way to kick off the show. So one of the things he was saying to our was get the basics down. And I remember one other thing he said, do research, which is a key thing, right? If you go into something new, and this is something that we even talked about last week with the competitors knowing the rules. Well, it's up to the competitors to know the rules, right? And it's up to them to really do the research and be prepared. You don't just go into a tournament and then just be like, oh, well, I thought all of them were like this, Alex Demon,
What are you talking about?
That sounds like you, a little bit, going
What
there
what
being like,
what are you referencing?
what do you mean groin kicks are legal? Well, read the flyer, bro.
Oh my
read
gosh.
the flyer.
That's actually all right. That's actually pretty funny. That's
dude,
actually pretty funny.
That's pretty
good.
funny.
That's a good point.
All right. So our focus today goes right into that, just venturing out, right? So
Word.
we talked a lot about that. I know Travis and I talked about that as well. That was some of the things that they talked about on CTE was venturing out.
Yep.
Not just for us. When I listen to CTE and they say, "Oh, things are kind of," we don't really know what to say, and we repeat the same things. I don't necessarily feel that same way with our show. We just kind of get on here. We always have plenty to talk about. Okay, so
Yeah.
I don't really
always
always
something, man.
echo those views with the sport. I can find anything to talk about, and we can find anything to talk about.
We
But
can.
I also know that for our sport to grow, our athletes need to go to other areas and then come back. I actually
Yeah.
think so that way they can bring that publicity and that experience with them to upgrade what we're doing, right? So, what are some times that maybe you've talked before about when you competed in, I think you had said Olympic Taekwondo before you tried to join
Yeah.
that, right? So, explain that situation, and I'll talk about sometimes that I did, and then maybe some plans in the future.
I think the Olympic style Taekwondo tournaments, those are some of the greatest, most powerful kickers I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
I mean, we'll put it and I'm going to give you the context of the time that I'm talking about, right? I'm talking about 1999, 2000, somewhere in there, right? Where
Yes.
I'm personally now just starting to be like realizing like I actually think I'm pretty good, guys. I'm pretty good, right? Not really winning anything. Maybe I'm winning a couple of adult divisions here and there, you know, nationally, because the local ones. I mean, you gotta
Yeah.
just. I mean, and that was the other thing. The time frame. Like I'm doing every tournament that I can find. Oh, this is competition. I'm there. You know, and that's in the time frame and the age where it's like, all right, just compete in every division that's possible. Musical weapons, sure. What's your weapon? I don't know. Figure it out, right? Because you just did everything. It was just super fun. So anyway, so this whole idea of a whole nother martial art, but it wasn't because it's Taekwondo, and it's like, I do Taekwondo, but I don't do Taekwondo like that.
Like that, yeah, exactly.
That Taekwondo is different.
Exactly.
So when we start talking, and they're like, well, you know, what belt are you? I'm like, oh, and at the time I was like, I'm a 2nd degree black belt. And they're like, oh, I was pretty badass, and I'm like, this is different. And they're like, what style do you do? As a Taekwondo, and they go, no, you don't.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know it's different. So then when I said, oh no, I'm from the Junri system, and then they're like, oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Like they look down on me like I'm lesser than, and then I have to stop and go, time out, roll the clock back a little bit. Who's the first man to bring Taekwondo to the States? Oh, that's right, it was Junri. All right. Anyway, so we get into this, and if you've never seen the Olympic style Taekwondo system, it looks more like point fighting now, more like point fighting now. It is not, right?
Right.
The fighting, all right? And I actually think like 10, 15 years ago, it was actually the fighting was better, even though the scoring was not, right?
Right.
And we had Arlene Limas on when we were talking about that, and she's heavily into it. And she said, unfortunately, whether you like it or not, this is the best way to have it. Like, okay, that's fine. I'll take your opinion on it for gold. That's for sure.
Correct.
Dude, I'm not kidding you. So this is in Minnesota. There was a guy named his name was Oi Lee, and his father, Byung Yul Lee, started Byung Yul Lee's World Taekwondo Academy. Like, all right, and he had 2 sons, In and Oi, badass dudes, right? Like badass, right? So I'm training with him and just destroying me, right? I don't know the system, but he's like, all right, you can come over here, you can come with us, and you can just kind of train with us and be part of the system when we go and compete. But it's like, it's the same thing, man. You know, when you go and you train, and I'm not kidding you, I trained for probably like 5 months, right? And then I did a tournament. It was right back to kicking with my front leg, man.
Yeah.
Right back to doing it. So I'm at that tournament. Now, at this point, I've probably been doing karate 12 years, right? Long enough to be like, this is who I am, but still young enough to be like, I don't know everything. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm in that tournament and I'm just amazed at the power, like heavyweights. And when I say heavyweights, I'm talking 230 plus,
Right.
quadruple head kicks. And when I say quadruples, I mean one leg to the other, just whop, 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 whop. And it looks like at first glance, you think like, oh, they're jumping. No, they're not. All right.
No.
They're switching their feet at full dang speed.
Yeah.
And it's hard to execute those kicks to the head and at that speed, right?
Right. Right.
Because the spins are out of this world. So
Yeah.
unless you're lightning fast with those doubles, triples, quadruples, you're going to get spin kicked and knocked out.
Correct.
Right. So I'm watching this. So I'm trying to like wrap my head around it. Right. Because this is the no hand pad, no foot pad era. This is just headgear, mouth guard, Hogu. And when they're the Hogu, and everybody's seen them before, they're the ones with the 3 dots. It's got 3, it's got dot on the side, dot in the center, dot on the side. It's either red or it's blue, and it's reversible. That's a Hogu. Hate those dang things. But what are you going to do? It doesn't make any sense to me that they're like, we kick so freaking hard that you need like a literally like bulletproof Batman type chest protector.
Right.
But we don't need to put anything on our feet. Like, what? What? This doesn't make sense to me. You just said you kick this hard. Put something on your dang feet. Whatever. That's cool. Whatever. So anyway, I watched this dude, right? Heavyweight. They were doing this at this time. They were doing tag team fighting. I thought this is so freaking cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
Imagine that type of Taekwondo fighting, tag team. So freaking awesome, right?
Yeah.
So this guy tags someone in, tags him. And now the terminology, forgive me if everybody doesn't understand it. Even within what we do, sometimes the terminology is like, what the heck is that? So we can understand it. Nobody knows what the hell I'm going to say. And I'll try to explain it. Guy hits someone with, this is the name of the technique, a putachuggy. All right?
Yeah.
It's the name of the technique. So a putachuggy, for all the sport karate people, is a switchback leg ground kick.
Right.
Everybody just went, at the unison, we all go, oh, okay. Yeah, we get it. That's what a putachuggy is. Okay? So he tags him. He reaches back, tags the guy, and the person he tags scoots his front foot in. Now he's in, right? And then jumps, does a putachuggy, and the guy sees it. So here's how you block those kicks that come to the kidneys. They just throw their arm down like they're doing like a traditional low block.
Right.
Throws his arm down. Nope. Broke that thing so dang fast. It was the coolest thing I've ever seen. Right?
Oh.
He broke it right in the middle of his forearm. Thing just went whoop, right over, just like it was a freaking yo-yo. Right?
Oh, gross.
I'm up in the stands. All right. Concordia College, St. Paul, Minnesota. I'm up there like, no freaking way this happened. This is awesome. Right?
You're crazy.
Like, what? And then at that time, there was like some people that were like, we're getting out of here. And I'm like, I got to get down there.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so cool because it was at the time where it was like, I knew I didn't know enough to be really good at this sport.
Right.
But then they had forms also. So I'm like, oh, all right, I'll do that. And it didn't matter. Right. You know how they were judging forms, Jeff? This will throw you off. So they would judge. Sometimes they would do 2 forms in the same ring at the same time.
Yeah.
Sometimes we've seen that. This is how they would judge forms. Sometimes they would go like this.
Yeah.
It's like 7. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
7.
Yeah, that's what we should be doing anyway. Why do this 999?
That's just where I was going to go.
One. Yeah, that's what ATA does.
Go. Like,
yeah, that's what ATA does.
What does the 9.9 whatever mean? It's always going to be a 9, and it's always going to be a 0.9, and then something else.
So what's the point?
Why not just go? This is dumb to go. 8, right? That's dumb. That is dumb, right? But it should be able to just be like, you get a 5, you get a 4,
yeah,
right?
Correct.
You get a 6, right?
Correct.
That actually makes more sense if it's always 9.9 whatever.
Yeah,
why not?
That makes no sense. Correct,
right? But man, it is some of the most brutal knockouts, some of the by far best spin kickers I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Right?
I say go and watch old Olympic style Taekwondo. And the other thing is go watch ITF Taekwondo fighting like right now.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Different. Those are 2 different kinds.
Those are different. And you can punch to the head in ITF.
Yeah. ITF is very much like point fighting, like open circuit point.
Well, I'd say like continuous fighting, but with knockouts. Yeah.
Correct.
Right.
Right.
Like, it's pretty much like kickboxing. Yeah.
WTF is what I was referencing.
Right. WTA now. Yeah.
Now it's called WTA.
Well, it's just called WT, World Taekwondo. Yeah.
Oh,
They
okay.
didn't want to do the F, you know.
Federation. They didn't want to do that.
They were like, all right, we want to be in the Olympics, and we're you know, we're trying to grow. Doesn't sound too good to be WTF, right? So
Didn't think of that.
yeah.
Didn't think of that. That's a good point.
Wow, I can't believe you didn't think about that. So yeah,
no,
so
it didn't. I
so
was slow to the
that's
party
a
on that
cool
one.
that's a cool story to tell as far as that. I know I'm excited. I know in January and February I'll have a lot of things to share, you know, when I start doing the AAU Taekwondo and like we said, competing in the same ring as someone else doing a different form, you know, like doing all that. So it's going to be exciting. Very similar, like as far as my preparation for that, it's like having a whole list of forms, which I do, but also having to make sure that they're done in a way that's going to work there. Right. And what's weird about, there's a lot of footage and things of actual traditional ITF tournaments and even some
Sure.
WT Pumse tournaments. There's not that much that I can find on actual AAU Taekwondo tournaments, like on
Yeah.
YouTube. There's stuff of sparring, but not really of that. So it's really interesting as far as researching my competitors and things like that. So
I really don't know a lot about. The
yeah, but
AAU
you know,
Taekwondo.
AAU Taekwondo is really the only like open Taekwondo or Korean style circuit that there is, right? Because WKF is a traditional circuit, but it's an open traditional circuit, meaning that you have Okinawan styles and Japanese styles that are competing. You have like 4 or 5 different styles that are allowed to compete in that, right? AAU is the same way. They have an ITF division, they have a WT division, and then they have the Mudakwon / Tong Soo Do division. So you can compete in those particular styles. Then you also have what's the open division, where all those go against each other. So so that's going to be interesting, you know, and just training for that. The other thing is and this goes off with Andrew. For me, one of the biggest things growing up was going to NBL from NASCA. It was a very different thing with the rules and stuff. So yeah, at the peak of NASCA in NBL days, you would rarely see any crossover. You didn't see crossover until the late 2000s. In most cases, NBL players would go to NASCA, but you rarely see NASCA people do NBL. Yeah, so my first, after I became a NASCA competitor.
I think the only people who did would be
well
CJB.
Yeah, but that was later on. So really, like the mid 90s, there was a few that did, you know, like Mouse came from NBL to NASCA. She kind of did both, you know.
NBL to NASCA.
You also had like Jimmy Pham that did both NBL and NASCA. Kim Do did both. Ebony Adams did both. You know, you had
you're talking about, but you're listing people that really kind of, you know, kind of moved to the beat of their own drum. You know,
correct.
what I mean?
JPM was in the very beginning of NBL, and then they moved over to NASCA. So
and they
it
only
was very
had a couple
interesting.
years where they did both. They only had a couple of them.
Right. So, but they were the original kind of team champions and stuff of the original NBL. So there was that. For me, in my area, actually, it was a very regional, NBL regional heavy area. But really right after I became a NASCA player, right? So we always had the Battle of Atlanta. We always had DC. But North Carolina, South Carolina became big strongholds of the NBL. When I was growing up, though, I was an underbelt. I didn't even know what NBL was. I knew what SKIL, though, was, because that was the circuit that I was allowed to compete in, because SKIL was for underbelts. Once you got to black belt, then you competed in NBL. That was the way it was, right? So I went to a tournament in Virginia that was like a local one. And that was my first time I saw people I saw Gary Waugh, I saw Brian Winfrey, I saw these guys first time. And then they started doing NASCA some too. So I started becoming a NASCA competitor. But 1996, I went to the Junior Internationals. A lot of us did. And that was where it was crazy, right?
I heard about
Trying,
this tournament. I wanted to
trying
go.
to,
I didn't go.
oh, it was a great tournament. I went 96. I didn't have too much success, but I learned a lot. I saw at that time I wasn't doing traditional really, so I did open forms, and I did musical forms, and that was really it. And so it was really interesting just to see the difference of that. The first thing for me was the flair, right? The showmanship. I remember sharing the story before about a guy, Mario Saldivar. He does his form. He's dressed up in like a sombrero, right? And he takes off the hat. He finishes his form with a jump outside crescent kick, lands there. The music ends, and all of his team throws roses over top of him, right? It was the craziest thing ever, right?
See, now I got a question for you in regards to that. Why do you feel like there's very few, if any, people in NASCAR who would even attempt that? Because let's just put, if somebody attempted something like that in NASCAR, like you'd have to have big huevos, or you just have to. People would look down on you, be like, "You're an idiot. Why would you do that?" Because people would absolutely would think those things, but yet it's encouraged to be extremely creative,
right?
In NBL. Why do you think
within this
there's
box,
that cultural divide? Why do you think that?
I don't know. It's really weird how it always was. It was like, whoa, that's the NBL thing. Don't do that, right?
Exactly.
And that's exactly what it was. And even when someone did do it, like I would say Mouse would come dressed in like James Bond, like she did the James Bond form, right? She would do that. She made it to stage with that stuff, which was crazy back then, but she did it, but it was still looked at. She's doing that NBL thing again. You know what I mean? But, it's kind of like, but yeah, the cultures were completely different. And, even when I did Intergalactic, some people were like, oh, that's an NBL kid. And everyone's like, wait a minute, Jeff's a NASCAR guy. He's been in NASCAR more than you, like, what are you talking about? It was me blending the two, right? And yeah, Butch Tokusala coming out in the coffin. What was that?
I think just doing Intergalactic was pretty conservative.
Compared to some, yeah.
I didn't have compared to the rest of what NBL you could see. That's pretty conservative.
Right.
Yet
That's true.
In NASCAR, you're like, did you see this crazy guy over here?
Yeah.
You look at Ring 3.
It's true, man. But yeah, it was one of those things. It was the dressing up. It was, Nick Purdon came in and did like the Indiana Jones thing. He had a whip, cracked a whip, and then did his flying comma form. Chris Millares came in on a skateboard in his form as his intro. Like, it was just cool stuff that everybody did,
Cool.
And it was just a different culture. Huh?
It kind of reminds me of, if you've ever seen the documentary about the XFL.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a great documentary.
XFL, they did all sorts of crazy stuff. You could put different stuff on the back of your jersey. They threw the ball into the stands. They would do all sorts of everything you would get fined for in the NFL. XFL was like, go ahead and do it.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
But then the XFL ran out of money.
Let's go on the flip side of that. So we look at traditional though. And Andrew actually brought this up last week as well, too. We look at that video from the 80s and we see those traditional forms, and they are very similar to how they are done now, right? But we look at how they were in NASCAR in the 90s. Imagine what NBL people were like, whoa. So the open style was too far open and extreme as far as like with the theatrics in NBL for open. And NASCAR people were like, that's not tradition. That's not karate or this whatever. That's too far out there. But then you look at NASCAR's form, like traditional forms, and they took a whole book out of NBLs and
Yeah.
made it that. And then you look at NBL, they were being really traditional. So it's so funny how, you know, I mean, that's why, I mean, Gabe Renaga did come from, you know, an NBL area as well. And he had an NBL
Totally
background,
makes sense.
but, you know, his traditional form wouldn't work in NBL, but he took the NBL type mentality and put it
He
in
took the
traditional
NBL
forms of
culture.
NASCAR. It's just crazy, right? And it was just a weird cultural difference, which I still see now. You know, like I even see, you know, just even things would like for me to compete against Japanese competitors, I have to do things a little different than strictly straight up Taekwondo. If you look at a Taekwondo tournament, they're barely ki. There's barely any facial expressions. There's barely any intensity.
Or
So
barely depth in stances.
yes,
It's just
so
look at how
it's
clean these
really
lines are.
different,
And they're
right?
clean.
That you have to do, while also keeping it looking different too. So it's just it was a whole different culture then. Again, you had to research. Back then, my only way of researching was the magazine. So I knew stories about them, what they were good at, what divisions they were great at, who was the top 10, who was the best.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. And NBL got me more focused on learning traditional martial arts even better before, because it was just open division, you know. So you did what won, you did open forms, you know.
Isn't that irony that the circuit that's the most creative got you focused on traditional?
Right. But no,
So,
but it was also the most traditional circuit.
well, I know,
Yeah,
but
I mean,
in the
that's
context
why,
of
yeah,
what we were talking about.
right, right. And that's
So,
why it's really funny. Just yeah, I mean, it's just funny how it was. But that's the whole thing about trying new leagues or disciplines. And also the point structure and things are always different, you know. You know, for me, the hardest part was competing in November or December as the biggest term of the year, when normally I just finish that and this is my resting time, you know, or my time to prepare for next year. So it was really different for that. That took me a long time to really be my best at Super Grands. You know, I win most of my tournaments throughout the year, and then Super Grands just didn't go well for me. I also had to learn about picking the right tournaments to go to. You had to make sure you at least won a conference. You couldn't just, hey, I won every tournament I went to. Yeah, but you win a conference of 4 and you only went to one tournament. So these other people went to all 4 of these. They have more points than you. So like, it's just, so if you didn't win a conference, you pretty much went first or second. You know, like one year I was number 2 in 2 or 3 national conferences, but I went second or third out of 20 because I didn't have a number 1 seed, like a number 1 regional seed. I just focused on the nationals, and I didn't, you know, it just didn't work out for me. So it
yeah.
was just one of those things like that. So you have to learn the process, you know, of that. It's the same thing with going to NASCA and trying to break in that top 4 for seeding and such, you know. One of the other things that we were talking about was they just announced that the World Wushu Championships are going to be in Texas, right, next year in 2023. All right. So the last time they were in America was Baltimore in 95 or 96. Singal is going to be competing there. He just won the Pan Ams, and I think they were in Mexico. So he is pumped up and training for that. That is something that I'm actually interested in getting a ticket for, going down there. It's in Fort Worth, Texas, which my fiance's family is all there. So we would go enjoy that. We're talking about going to some of these events, the Martial Arts Center Network. We're not just sport karate or NASCA or NBO or whatever. Like, let's do this. We're going to work on getting Singal on here soon, some other guys, to talk about, you know, what is going on.
That dude is straight up entertainment.
Oh, yes.
I love that dude.
Yes. So yeah. So like, and he's a beast, right? And so he is doing it at that level in that, like, he is one of the favorites actually to do well in the World Championship. So pretty awesome. You know, to see that. And so we want to, you know, share about what happens at those events. You know, they have their forms, and they have different styles, okay, divisions. They have their weapons, okay. The coolest thing that you see, there's two things that people don't really think about. Maybe they do because they
weapons are
see it on
badass.
YouTube. It's the awesome like self-defense routines they do, right?
They're the freaking best.
They're freaking awesome, right? Where they're like
YouTube some
stabbing
stuff.
people and then moving their head just a little bit not to get hit. It's insane. Okay, so people need to go and watch that. All right, look up like World Wushu self-defense or team forms or whatever.
Dude, you know where I first saw this stuff? I'm like, this is gonna be a throwback. This is gonna be a throwback mention right here. Where I first saw this stuff was, if anybody remembers this, Bylang.com.
Oh yeah. Bylang.
Remember this?
Oh, man. That is a good one.
Is it Bylang or Belang? Whatever.
Billy
it is.
Bylang, yeah.
Billy
Martial arts
Bylang.
tricks. Yeah, martial
Billy
arts tricks.
Bylang's martial arts tricks. This guy was so cool. He was the innovator. He would just watch people's form. Let's say Steve Tirada, right?
Right.
And he would like just find clips of the tricks.
Yeah.
Right. Here's
Yeah.
the trick. Here's his form in 9 seconds. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's just-
That's true.
Right? But anyway, with that being said, he had this little snippet of these wushu self-defense. They
Right.
were the coolest freaking things I'd ever seen. And
Definitely.
I actually think those videos were from like 20 years ago then, right? So they're probably they're 40 years old, stuff I could never fathom. Fathom, right? Oh my goodness. It was
It's
amazing.
crazy.
The self-defense with weapons, and even the stuff without, literally just grabbing guys and throwing them as if they're literally a rag doll. It was amazing.
Here's the thing that people think though, all right? So they think World Wushu Championships.
Yeah.
When you hear that, what do you think there is? What are the divisions?
Well, I would assume
Okay.
forms,
Uh-huh.
your weapons, and your self-defense. That's
that
all I
it?
got.
There's fighting.
Stop.
Yeah, it's called Sanda. All right. It's full contact fighting with takedowns. And as soon as you get the takedown, you come up. So it's pretty much essentially MMA, but no ground fighting. All right. So
But
that's the
point
traditional.
to get the other person just to get them down.
No. It's think of like a kickboxing match. Okay. There's
They're
knockouts.
striking each other.
Yes. It's Sanda. Sanshou is a little different, but it's very similar to that, but it's called Sanda. They had the mat. I can't remember what the name of it is, but they call it. But if you knock them off of the mat of like the platform, that is a point for you or deduction for them. So the more time you can get them out of the ring and off that, if you can take them to the ground, you can drop them, knock them out, punch them, kick them. You're judged the whole time. I think it's 3 rounds, and
Actually
so
sounds
it's
really cool.
it's awesome. All right, so again,
Sounds like
go
something
and
Chris
watch
Walker
some of
should
this
do.
on YouTube. I think we need to make a trip next year. We got to plan ahead, figure it out, and this is like the most energy, like just the most highest level of energy that they have at the tournament. Like because imagine you're having all these different countries yelling, yelling Chayo, Chayo, all this stuff, right? And getting all pumped up. Some of the best countries are the Middle Eastern countries, like the Iranian team and the Iraqi team and Saudi Arabia and stuff. Yeah, so really cool to see. So that's one thing, on my list. We're talking about maybe getting to some WKF
When is that?
events.
When is that? When
That's
it's in Fort Worth? Ironic that it's in Fort Worth.
November 20th, like right now.
So like now.
Like the weekend. Yeah, so last weekend next year, okay? Let's make it happen.
Isn't that ironic that you think about that it's in Fort Worth? Because remember when John Worley was on the show, when he was the guest on the show?
Yeah.
And he pretty much spelled it out, how Fort Worth was pretty much the launching pad for martial arts all over the country.
Correct.
Fort Worth.
Correct.
Right?
So really cool. Really cool. Let's see. Yeah, and he's saying, some of the internal style forms are like 5 minutes long, and they're super impressive. But
what is an internal style form?
That's, let's say, like a Tai Chi or something, like a slower style. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it to Brett. That is not entertaining for me to watch. And I
right.
I think
Well, it's impressive.
I think maybe I'm starting to age into my personality a little bit. I think like different things, like the Irish goodbye. You know what the Irish goodbye is?
The
Irish
one
goodbye
with,
is like we just get up and leave.
yeah,
Like
yeah, I do
you
that.
just
I've always
decide I'm
been,
done, so you just get up and leave. You don't
yeah,
say anything.
I've always been the best of that.
Okay,
I still do that because I'll just keep talking. I'll never,
but like
and
different
time
things.
out.
Like
If
I
I'm
would not. Like
actually,
that
you're good
wouldn't
at that
entertain me.
too. You're good at that too because every time that I've hung out with you, that's what usually happens. And the thing is that
Actually true.
that's my plan when I'm around you too, because I know, oh man, if I say bye to Alex, he's going to keep going on and on and on.
But I do
So
it to you instead.
So we both had the same mindset. So we're good. We don't feel like there's
I
no
did it
hard
to you at the
feelings.
last 2 tournaments.
Yeah. There's no hard feelings.
No, you know the best one I ever had. This is the best one. So I was hanging out with Hamid Farouzi. I was in Minneapolis for something, and I was like, "Hey man, I'm gonna be hanging out. I'm gonna be at my brother's place. Let's just hang out downtown." And he goes, "Downtown? Really? You want to do that?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Let's just hang." So we're hanging out. We're here, and I'm looking around like, "Where the hell Hamid go?" And I look at my phone, and he texts me, "Irish goodbye." And I'm like, that was the best right there.
That was pretty good.
Not even upset in the least. In fact, I'm proud of you.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
No, so but all that to me, that was a long explanation of like the internal style forms. I would Irish goodbye that. I would be gone. Which I don't know why I'm being hated on for this goodbye, but whatever. I didn't come up with the name. Right. So yeah, I would have no desire to watch any of that. But I'm sure people think about that with some of our forms.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
That I say ours, I mean some of the open circuit forms.
Correct. Yeah. So what are some other things that maybe you had thought of as far as maybe going to see as far as a martial arts event? I know one for me is I love to go to, heck, in a couple of weeks, if I could get down to Orlando to go to Karate Combat, that would be awesome, right? To experience.
I mean,
what are some other martial arts tournaments or experiences that would be different for us to maybe go to? We be like the martial arts travelers, like the real karate nerd, right? Like Jesse Enkamp,
That dude's cool, man.
That dude's cool. All right. What do you have to say?
I think the only other thing I think would be like Muay Thai kickboxing.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna say it. Like I wish K1 was still around so we could go to the Grand Prix, right?
Damn.
I know.
Wouldn't that be badass?
I know. Dude, we would nerd out big time.
Big time.
Yeah.
And Glory tried doing a little bit of that when they did like the middleweight tournaments. It was cool, but I just think like I don't know.
I don't know if I want to go to Highland and stuff for those events. They're a little too crazy for me. I don't know if Korea or Japan is any better, but I don't know. But that's where they always had K1 Grand Prix. The finals was in Japan, and they had a bunch in Korea too. But I don't know, man. So that's one. Richard says some BJJ events. I would love to see the Abu Dhabi World Championships. That would be cool because it's just different. It's not like going to a BJJ tournament. Like there was a lot of like excitement and prestige, this year, watching it, and a lot of those guys know how to entertain people, like the number one grappler right now is making millions and millions of dollars just doing that sport, So it's not like he had to stop doing that and go do MMA for him to make money,
right.
He's doing it on his own. And I wish like wrestling, like collegiate or high school wrestling type could do the same thing, because there just isn't that in there, in some ways. I'm sure there's some guys, but it never got to that level.
Well, I know I literally just talked about it, but I want to touch on it again. So when I said Muay Thai events, like Muay Thai fighting, so my wife's, this is gonna sound funny. My wife's cousin's husband, right?
Okay.
Was calling my cousin, right?
Sure.
Cousin in connection.
Whatever.
We'll say that, right?
Cousin-in-law.
So this dude, his name's Phil, and I might have mentioned him on the show before.
I think so.
That he just is into combat martial arts.
Yeah. We talked
He's
about
just into it. So he's telling me about this trip that he took to Thailand, And I'm like, oh, so why'd you go to Thailand? And I'm like, he went with like a group of people. I'm like, why did everybody decide to go to Thailand? And he said, because I wanted to go to Thailand. Like, so wait.
That's
And
awesome.
I'm like, you don't need to tell me why. So you were able to talk to your wife and 2 other couples to going to Thailand because you wanted to watch Thai fighting. And he's like, essentially, yes.
Yeah.
So, like I said, this guy's just a fan. So he starts telling me about how different Thai boxing is in Thailand.
Thailand. Yeah.
He's like, it's basically like cockfighting, right?
Mhm.
And what they do is like some rich guy will just randomly come up to the ring and be like, 10 million baht elbow, right? Which means the guy gets 10 million. I don't know what the number is.
Right,
but
right,
it's also baht. So what does it mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Right? Right? 10 million baht if he knocks the guy out with his elbow. In the middle of the fight's just going, right?
Right.
It's a however many round fight. And then some rich dude just goes 10 million. So now these guys are just going nuts, throwing haymaking elbows and spinning. And I'm
Right.
like, are you kidding me? And they'll just do that with like anything. It could be a teep,
Right.
could be a knee. And I'm like, they just took the entertainment, which is the fighting,
Right.
and they just made it entertaining on top of entertaining.
Correct.
And that would be really cool to see. I
Correct.
don't want to go to Thailand to do it though. I want
Um,
Thailand to come here.
Joseph
the conveniences
Brackett.
of
Joseph
this- of this
Brackett
thing.
went to Thailand for his honeymoon like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks
Who
ago.
did?
Joseph Brackett, yeah, the fighter from South Carolina. Yeah, he was like, yeah. It's like, how did you convince your wife to do that? It's like, well, it was beautiful. I'm like, all right. It's like,
Well, it
"Did you go
is.
see some
You got
things
to
too?"
go. It's a beautiful place.
Right.
Damn.
Man, there's so many martial arts experiences I think that would be really cool. Again, I think seeing a real like wushu tournament would be cool because the athleticism
I think that's probably it. I don't know enough about Chinese
is
martial arts.
insane. Like just the athleticism's crazy. And we've always grew up hearing about the Beijing wushu team and stuff like that. So
This is true.
really, really cool to see that. For me, it would be to go to Japan or somewhere and see like the Kyokushin like championships, which is insane. If you guys haven't looked up Kyokushin, look up, karate knockouts when they're doing the rolling
That's
kicks
basically it.
and the 360 jump hook kicks and landing on the ground and knocking people out. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of actually like Taekwondo because you weren't allowed to hit in the head. You could only punch, but it's full contact and you only have the cloth gloves. You're hitting. Actually, I don't even think you can do that. I think it's just bare knuckle, bare feet. You're punching the body and then you can knock them out with the head. So what happens when you get softened up, your arms drop, guess what opens up?
Your head.
Boom. And so
It's just
it's wild.
I mean, if we remember the late Andy Hoog, all right?
That's where he came from.
He's the best,
Shara,
right?
I can't remember his name, but there was a lot of guys in the K1 that came from Kyokushin.
Right. But his axe kicks and his spin kicks,
Yeah.
they're just the bomb.com.
Right.
But it doesn't make any sense to me, much like Taekwondo doesn't make sense to me. Why is it WT Taekwondo, I should say, not WTF, but whatever.
Yeah.
WT doesn't make any sense to me. Like, wait a minute. Let me see if I got this straight. You could 360 round kick someone right in the face, blow their nose up. That's cool. Right? Which, the term for that, I guess, is called naraban, but whatever.
Yeah.
As long as we're talking about Korean terms.
Yeah.
But I can't hit him with a jab.
Right.
I'll get disqualified if I hit him with a jab.
It's
But
crazy.
you could 360 round kick him in the face, blow his nose up like it's a blueberry. But I can't hit him with a jab.
Right.
This is what we're talking about.
It's crazy.
It doesn't make
right?
any sense.
Doesn't
But the
make any sense.
Kyokushin's the same way. It's the same thing. And I think they're just blind to it. They don't even look. They're just here and they're just eyes down.
Yep.
Right, like not even like in the chest. They're just like right here. Like
Well,
right in the
and they
sternum.
do leg kicks too. They're doing shin
I
kicks.
know.
And,
It's so odd.
it's
the
wild,
distancing
man.
in Kyokushin doesn't make any sense to me at all. The distancing, I don't get it.
Oh
right?
yeah.
Because you're chest to chest
You're just
and you're just punching each other.
and then somehow you kick someone when you're on top of them. Yeah.
Well, that's their athletic ability, and I
Yeah.
give them that, which is
Yeah.
amazing that they're able to do that.
Correct.
I don't know. Maybe just don't stand there. I don't know. It's just an idea.
Yeah. I don't
Try
know, man.
striking from a distance so that they can't do that to you. Because clearly they're just setting you up so that they can spin kick you, right?
Yeah,
Maybe don't do that. I don't know.
I don't know. Oh
This is
man,
why, but this is an outsider looking into it, not
Correct,
understanding it, but
correct.
also that's probably how everybody else is going to look at it too. Sorry,
Yeah,
Kyokushin.
yeah. One
You
more
know,
that's a little different. To me, it's still martial arts. I grew up, I guess, ESPN, going to tournaments. ESPN was on, and they would have sumo on, right? When you get in that hotel, they
ooh,
have sumo on the rare times, or they had the world's strongest man competition. It'll be one of those two, right? And it was just a different cultural type thing. It just looked cool to me, right? I'm not saying it's the most interesting sport, but there's
no, I
something
found it
with
very
the
interesting.
there. I thought it was very interesting because of the strategy and everything, but the
And
cultural,
it's an instant gratification.
yeah, but the culture and just how, like a system of you had to work your way up to this and that, and then once you got there, you were the yokozuna, you were, and it was really cool to see that. You don't see it anymore on TV like it used to be, and I wish it was, but it was really cool for that. Wow, he said save up for that event. The cost to go to those are really high. Well, yeah, I'm sure that it's almost like a prestige type thing, or even like a class type thing to go to
Everybody's
those
talking about
kind of events.
the
Sumo,
sumo or the
yeah,
Kyokushin.
no, sumo.
Sumo.
I believe,
I would imagine. Yeah,
yeah,
that
yeah,
makes sense because like
yeah,
the highest class of the highest class probably do that.
yeah.
But I wonder if
So
there's
that
any
would be
around.
cool.
There's got to be some in the states.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. So we're gonna be getting our research. We're gonna try to go out. My
Would
first
love to go
AAU
with you.
Taekwondo event is gonna be in February in Fredericksburg, and then I may try to do one in March. I'm trying to get a couple under my belt. I only have to go to one to qualify for nationals if I qualify. And the nationals is in Fort Lauderdale in July. But it's a lot of training and changing a little bit of my style. I mean, it's going to be different. But I think my forms are going to get better, and from doing this as well. You know what I mean? Certain things are going to get better, different. And again, like you said, though, I'm 39 doing this. I'm not 39 yet, but I will be 39 doing it. So, we'll see if,
Hurts a little different.
well, yeah, yeah, yeah. So we'll see how that goes. I still also want to do. I have a lot of different more things that I want to try. Like grappling tournament. I want to do a wrestling event one more time. Those types of things. Maybe even a low kick division again or something. Maybe kickboxing. I'm not sure, but
Time
lots
out.
of things.
You want to do a low kick fight?
Well, I did a low kick before with WKU. That was a lot different. The problem is with that, it's like that was my very first event of the weekend, and without warming up, and then I had to do all the forms after. That was that was intense. That was
Not
crazy.
so great.
Yeah. So we'll see, but I mean, I train kickboxing twice a week. I teach it twice a week. I need to do more than just that, but we'll see.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. That's cool, man.
So
As far as let's just sprinkle in our sport here just for a minute. What events are you kind of excited to either be at or hear about coming next year of open sport martial arts?
yeah. I mean, it's always, the first ones of the year is always exciting because you want to see who's
Yeah,
there, right?
I agree.
So everybody's pumped up for that, in Chicago.
And now it's back in Chicago, then in
Yep.
Schaumburg
Yep.
with with vaccine card mandates. Wasn't that crazy?
No, yeah. I don't even, yeah. It's like a whole nother world, really.
Nobody could move. Nobody could go anywhere.
Yeah, it was it really was like it felt like 2 or 3 years ago, not January, you know what I mean, of this year. Yeah. So,
January.
yeah. So it's crazy, right? But that was like that. Also, let's see. I mean, for me, it's like the major ones are always, going to be the ones you want to go to. So, but I'm thinking something different. Like, I may do WKU in Calgary next year. I think that's cool. I've never been to a tournament in Calgary. that's exciting just because it's a different area. And there's already other countries already confirmed and ready to go. Like they're already, the German team has huge people, huge amount of people, 200, 300 competitors coming,
people.
so just lots, there's that. I'm excited for the Quebec Open because it's been gone for like 3 years.
It's coming back.
And it's coming back. So I think that's going to be really exciting,
cool.
For me, like I said, doing USAA Taekwondo Nationals is going to be sweet because there is going to be some crossover with the point fighting. They're going back and forth. We're going to have some of our schools be doing that. And you know whose other tournament? Richard Osborne's Ozark is going to be in St. Louis next year. So that's going to be really cool. He's always had a great event, but flying in has always been hard, right? Because you have to fly in and then take a 2 to 3 hour drive.
Right. There.
So now he's going to be in St. Louis. So a brand new facility, big facility. So I'm excited to see that event blow up. And I know that's going to be a fun one. So
that's an interesting one. What else I was thinking of? I was thinking of Mike Welch's tournament, the
Infinity.
Because they're in a fantastic area.
Yeah,
they're in a fantastic space, but also hard to fly in. Can't really fly into there, but you can get close to there. But you got to fly and then commute. Once you're there, it's a great spot.
Yeah,
but what I really think is going to be the big thing. I'm looking at things like the Athens Challenge or the Point Fighter Cup.
Yeah.
If anybody was paying attention to the European championships, the WACO European Championships, listen, guys, the Europeans were listening when we said they can't kick.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
They were listening. And I'm telling you now, they can kick.
Yeah.
They can kick. They're fast. They're accurate. They're strong. And they're very talented. And one other thing with that, I know he was my competitor of the week a while back, but I don't think he really got enough credit. Do you know who the coach of the German national team is?
Yeah, Laszlo
Gambos.
Yeah.
He's the coach of the German national team. He has done a damn good job.
Yeah, definitely.
And I just find isn't it fascinating? Somebody who could be winning the world championship now. Like he's talented enough.
Yeah.
He could be winning it right now. And couple years ago, he just decided, I'm going to be done and I'm going to coach. Like, what? Yeah. And I think I also said that about Gregorio DeLeo when he just turned 30 and he's like, oh no, I can't fight anymore. I'm 30.
Yeah.
It's like somebody put a stake in your back. Like, what are you talking about? Like, weren't you just fighting last year? He's like, oh yeah, but I'm 30 now. I can't fight.
Okay.
What's that make me in the grave?
Yeah, I am. But we have a lot of these events coming up, and guys, this is the best time to reach out to us at Martial Arts Center Network about us covering your event, having you on our show to talk about your event, sponsoring our show. For us to live stream your event and do our commentary for all the rings like we did for Arctic Challenge. They are already on board for next year. We have some other ones that we're talking to. So, and again, hopefully we're going to be at some other style of events as well. So this is going to be a big year coming up in 2023. Again, thank you to Matthew Grushia for coming on.
Yeah,
follow him on Instagram, follow him on Facebook, Twitter, whatever, TikTok, and follow his career. Okay.
He does the TikTok.
I'm not sure. I'm just saying, but search him, but, and just see this kid continue to grow. All right,
man. It's a great week. Thankful. You know what? Time out before we go.
Yes. This is Thanksgiving. We're
gonna go. Well, yes, very thankful. I'm thankful for some obscure things that I'm going to tell you a story of right now.
Oh man,
I'm thankful for ibuprofen, and I'm going to tell you why. This is it's a little embarrassing thing on Alex, but you know what? Here we go. So last night I'm just sitting around and I'm like, you know what? I got some guacamole. Let's have some guacamole. So I'm having some guacamole and some chips. I'm like, you know what? But I got some margarita pre-made mix in the fridge. Let me just have a margarita. Man, I got no ice. I got this big thing of ice, and it's a block of ice. And I'm like kind of like banging away at it. And I'm like, this is not getting anywhere. I need a larger surface. So I take my elbow and I'm smashing it. Jeff, I'm gonna put it up. I don't know how bad it is. Oh, it's not so bad anymore. It's not so bad anymore.
You didn't know how to do it, man.
You see it? Look at this.
Yeah.
Look at how busted and bruised and swollen that is.
You hit all the muscle.
Jeff, it looked so bad last night. I'm over here and I busted it. Ice went everywhere, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
What was I thinking?
It was so bad. So bad.
So
I couldn't when I was sleeping last night, I couldn't let my arm hit the bed. I had to sleep with my arm across my body.
Wow.
It was horrible.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Oh man. Thank you for ibuprofen. All right.
Thank you,
That's
ibuprofen. Keeping this old man alive.
All right, guys. Happy Thanksgiving. Be grateful, be thankful. God bless
This
you all.
has been another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I am Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. See you guys next week. Happy Thanksgiving.